Hey everybody, I'm very honored to be able to speak with the Ambassador from the United States of America to the nation of Israel, David Friedman. David, thank you for just taking a little time.
Pastor Greg, great to see you again.
Great to be with you.
Thanks.
Really appreciate all that you're doing here in the nation of Israel. And on behalf of the evangelical world, I want to just say that we're very glad that our president has agreed to move our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and even to acknowledge the right of Israel over her settlements in the Golan Heights area. And so we're just glad this is happening. And I want you to know, I don't represent all evangelicals, but I can speak, I think, for many of them. We're very supportive of Israel and of the Jewish people, and recognizing that God has placed this nation here. He's brought his people back from the four corners of the earth and the aftermath of the horrific Holocaust, and to see this nation flourish and thrive. And yet there's still threats. I mean, just this week when I've been here, rocket fire from Gaza. So do you see tensions escalating here? Or is this a normal thing where it comes and it goes? Or how do you see this?
Well, I think the Gaza Strip is a very volatile place. It's 1.5 million people being held hostage by 30,000 terrorists. And that's on the Hamas side.
Yeah.
You have Islamic Jihad, which is supported by Iran. And, from time to time, for any reason or no reason, they will begin to attack. And some of these attacks are really horrific. A house in Ashkelon was flattened, and a man living inside there was killed.
That's tragic.
A 22-year-old student with a small child was killed. He was buried today. This is heartbreaking, and it doesn't do any good for the people that live in Gaza. The president, I thought, made it very clear yesterday that what Hamas and Islamic Jihad are doing is not only terrible for Israel, but it's terrible for their own people.
True.
No good will ever come of it.
No.
And unfortunately, we don't have yet really a good answer, because when people's motivations are driven by hatred, very hard to reason with them, very hard to get them to a table. We don't give up on peace, we can't, we shouldn't, but it's sure challenging in the Gaza Strip right now.
What has been the greatest challenge that you've faced being the ambassador to the nation of Israel?
Well, to be honest with you, it's been the greatest 2 years of my life.
Wow.
being the ambassador. I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am for the opportunity, and how fortunate I feel to have this chance to represent the president here in this incredible country. The challenges are largely related to Israel's neighbors.
Yeah.
Israel is this oasis of democracy.
Yeah.
And if you just go around the circle and around the perimeter from Gaza, which we talked about, to Lebanon, which has 140,000 rockets controlled by Hezbollah aimed into Israel, can reach any part of the country, to Syria, which run by a ruthless, brutal dictator, one of the greatest humanitarian catastrophes of the last 50 years. Iran, off 800 miles away, threatening every day to annihilate Israel, yelling death to America.
Yeah.
This is a rough neighborhood. And in the middle of it all, you have a country like Israel, which flourishes and thrives, does an incredible job, I think, to support human rights, given all the threats that it faces. If you happen to be an Arab living anywhere in this region, the place you really want to live is Israel.
Yeah.
Because living in Israel, you get access to world-class universities, world-class healthcare. Women are able to participate in the economy to the same extent as men. So the challenges are with the neighbors, but if you kind of focus internally on this country, it is truly a miracle. God has been good to this country, and we are seeing it continue to bloom and flourish in ways that I don't think any of us ever imagined.
Why is it important for Americans to understand the strategic role that Israel plays, but also it's really the only real democracy in this part of the world? I don't know that people really understand how important Israel is.
Yeah, I think Israel is the bulwark against the entire Middle East collapsing.
Yeah.
I think without Israel, this entire region devolves into complete chaos, and it's a small world, and that chaos can get exported very quickly to our own shores. In today's paper, I just saw, I can't verify it, but that there were a number of threats from Iran against various American interests throughout the world that Israel was able to identify through their own intelligence and share with the United States. I can tell you that there are many, many incidents. I can't get into too much detail, but where Israeli intelligence has helped us avoid and stop and arrest threats on American soil. So they're a really good friend and an important ally.
Yeah.
From a moral perspective, they are the country that deserves our support.
Yes.
From a Judeo-Christian perspective, this is where our values originated.
That's right.
This is where our culture comes from.
Very true.
And I've said this before, I think we are at our best when we support Israel.
Yeah, I agree. Now, you mentioned Iran and the threat of Iran, and I mean, they're a powerful nation, and they've mentioned on more than one occasion that they, don't even acknowledge the right of Israel to exist. They'd like to wipe Israel off the face of the map, and they've been very provocative of late, and we've taken these threats seriously, as you just said. Do you ever see a actual conflict that could develop, even a war between Iran and Israel, or do you think they just will engage in saber rattling and then back off when America steps forward? Or
well, I sure hope not.
Yeah.
I think Iran, you have to look at it in two components. They're 800 miles from here.
Yeah.
Israel doesn't share a border with Iran, so
Yeah.
it's it would be certainly possible, but hopefully, because they're so far from each other, they wouldn't be at war. But Iran then acts through proxies in Syria and
that's
Lebanon,
right.
and those proxies are very dangerous. And,
Yes.
Iran could easily help those proxies to
Right.
attack Israel. Now, the good news is that for the first time in many years, we have a president with the courage and the strength to stand up to Iran.
That's right.
And he's done so in ways that are unprecedented. Iran is in a worse place today than it was before the sanctions were lifted under the Obama deal. So they're hurting. Their situation is going to get worse and worse. They are going to need to pull back because they just can't afford to continue to fund all this malign activity around the world. Doesn't mean they're not going to lash out. Doesn't mean there aren't threats. I think there are a number of threats have been identified. But we're going to defeat Iran because we have a president that's willing to stand up to Iran.
How can American Christians, evangelicals, what can we do for Israel? How can we help this nation, and how can we help you and what you're trying to do here?
Well, look, the support of the evangelical community is deeply appreciated in Israel and in the United States. And unfortunately, the United States is somewhat of a divided country now. And I think evangelicals have shown the courage and the leadership and the vision and the faith that we need in the United States, and gives me some hope and comfort that we're on the right track. Coming here, I think, is something which Israelis themselves, they sometimes feel isolated.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of support in Europe. They don't get a lot of support in other places around the world when Christians come here, and not just from the United States. I mean, there's evangelical Christians coming here all around the world.
Yeah.
When they come here, I think it's a moral boost and a kind of shot in the arm to the Israelis. They need it, and they love the friendship, and I think they deeply appreciate it.
Well, we want to thank you for the job that you do, and I want you to know on behalf of evangelicals that we're going to continue to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. The Bible actually tells us to do that, and support this nation and the Jewish people. And we're just thankful that God's put you here. And thank you for giving me just a little time right now to talk.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Regards
Ambassador.
home. Thanks.
Thank you.